They were back again in their familiar haunts, with Mrs. Harris, Char, and Mrs. Butterfield, part-time cook, having collected clients for whom they did on an hourly basis. Mrs. Harris and Bayswater had something further in common, in that they were now working for the same man, Sir Wilmot Corison, property tycoon and influential behind-the-scenes politician of the Centre Party. Bayswater was chauffeur to Sir Wilmot's new Golden Cloud Rolls-Royce, while Mrs. Harris dropped in for an hour or so each morning at the small mews house behind Eaton Square, which Sir Wilmot maintained as a pied-à-terre in London when it was necessary for him to remain late at the office, and where he often slept when he did not feel like returning to his country home in Buckinghamshire. Twice a week, it might be noted, Mrs. Harris also numbered John Bayswater amongst her clients, for she would pop in to tidy up the little flat he owned in that section of London which had the same name as his, Bayswater. But there was no charge for this, since Mrs. Harris had never forgotten Bayswater's kindness and help during her difficulties in America. But for the rest, the friendship with Bayswater had remained static. The chauffeur was a confirmed bachelor, whose only real loves, apparently, were the various Rolls-Royce cars he had driven, and over which he fussed internally and externally, groomed and polished until everything in their interiors was reduced to an inaudible whisper, while their exteriors glittered and shone immaculately. This night, the debate raged around the personality and opinions of the Honourable Ronald Puckle, Conservative Member of Parliament for Marley Vale. "It's the likes of him as what's wrong with the government," Mrs. Harris announced, casting a resentful look at the television screen, as though the somewhat flabby image of the Honourable Member was still etched upon it. "A windbag, and not much of a bag at that." "Indeed," said Mr. Bayswater. "Well now, he struck me as very sound on a number of subjects." "Sound?" echoed Mrs. Harris. Then she mimicked the voice of the interlocutor. "And how do you feel about the future of Britain, sir?" And followed with the reply of the worthy parliamentarian. "Oh, very good, excellent, splendid." And then he goes on for 10 minutes. And what does he say? What goes up must come down. What's too lean wants a bit of fat. What's too fat wants to lose some weight. Cut off the tops of the hills to fill up the valleys, and keep running in one place as fast as you can. Coo! He was as false as his teeth. Couldn't you see his eyes shifting about every time they asked him a question? "Was something wrong with his teeth?" queried Mrs. Butterfield, who always managed to lag somewhat behind the arguments. "I thought they was very handsome." "Too handsome," snapped Mrs. Harris. "Dentures. If I was him, I'd stay away from those television cameras. They look right through you." Mr. Bayswater protested, slightly starchily. "I suppose you, being Labour, would naturally feel—" Mrs. Harris interrupted him with a snort. "Oh, me? Labour? Not on your life. If anything, they're worse. I've heard and seen and had me fill of them. What they're going to do for the working man. They're ignorant as well as hypocrites. I've got my own party. Live and let live, I calls it. Me and Vi, here, if we were in Parliament, we'd tell 'em a thing or two, wouldn't we, Vi?" Mrs. Butterfield's small mouth formed into a tiny O of alarm in the large round moon of her face as she said, "Oh, I wouldn't dare." "Well, I would," stated Mrs. Harris with such vehemence that the pink silk fringe on the lampshade stirred. "I'd tell the lot of them what's wrong with the government and how the country should be run." Mr. Bayswater smiled a friendly and tolerant smile, for he was really very fond of Mrs. Harris, found her company most pleasant, and hugely enjoyed their tea and telly evenings. "I'll wager you would, Ada," he said, "and maybe you'd even do them some good." Here the mantel clock went into its imitation of Big Ben.